What up? Think we got this working? We do. Doing a little recap for some drafts I had. Hope you guys are doing well on this fine Monday. Hope you have some fantasy football matchups that do not need James Conner. Luckily, I had T. Higgins in the hole for my league. So yeah, pretty much just gonna do a little draft recap here and kind of go over what I learned from a couple competitive leagues and couple. I mean, industry drafts are kind of weird because people kind of reach for the guys, which I'm notoriously known for. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Yep, I got the YouTube page popping, so please check that. Please subscribe. We would love it. Any thumbs up? It's totally free. I hope you guys have been checking out 3Ball. It's so dope. We talked a lot about it today with all the ideas and putting highlights in. It's kind of cool. I've never really been like a watch the tape guy, but it's really cool to kind of break down like how it's just, being like a fantasy analyst and kind of actually putting my regular basketball analyst hat on has been a lot of fun. And yeah, the NBA season starts tomorrow. So just quickly, if you're playing DFS, I mean, it's $29.99 for our full season. So all year you get content it's like we're gonna work out like $1 a day and change to just be totally informed. I'm gonna do injury reports every day, matchups. Drew's insane. Like Drew has so much detail, and I love just right now. Drew's like, oh yeah, this isn't it. It's just like it's crazy. That guy's the man. And we're gonna have projections. That's obviously the key. DFS top plays. Drew's gonna write that. We're all gonna help, but Drew is just ridiculous. I'm so lucky to work with that guy. And he's just such a motivator for everybody in the whole squad. And Wiggins is dope, and Mike Leone's awesome. So yeah, check out our content. It's gonna be awesome. You get the draft kit for free. So if you have a draft tonight and you know you're gonna do do your DFS, get your draft kit, get all the 150. Mentioned on the pod today, like people have shown me their screenshots of their teams who got the 150 versus the people who didn't. Like you could totally tell. I'm gonna try to hook you guys up if you want to save some money. But yeah, so we'll get into this. I'm gonna probably not answer too many questions, but if you have one, try to make it so answers helps everybody because I know people love these draft recaps, and it's probably my most useful thing I could do. So I wanted to get you guys going. Okay, so I did this one with some of my friends and some industry peeps. Matt Strope from Roto World was in here. Raphael Johnson from Roto World's in here. Those guys are those. I love those dudes. Miss working with them, chit chatting. But this is a 9-cat draft. This is probably my toughest draft I had yesterday and over the whole weekend. 9-cat, but the 9-cat's at the assist to turnover ratio, and I was picking 5th, which I wasn't really pumped about. I was like, I'm probably going to get hopefully Dame or the Joker. So yeah, there I was. And as you can see, we've been talking about this for a while. Like picking anywhere here, you're normally going to get the same kind of guys. Matt Strope had mentioned I sniped him on Dame. So yeah, Dame, I have him number 3. I think he's the safest bet. We saw him just grow so much as a scorer last year. And finishing around the basket finally. So if you played fantasy for a while, you remember Dame was bad around the rim. He was, upper 40s, which is 10% below league average. So him getting better there has really launched him to being in the running for a number 1 spot. So yeah, again, this is really just pick your poison. Like if you want to pick any of these dudes, if you don't feel safe about Harden, you don't have to take him number 1. But he's dope for this format. AD, I think he's one of the safest guys. With the one AD, there's probably only 2 guys that purely have number 1 per game upside, and it's really those 2, Harden and AD. But these next group of guys, and they have a little bit more game log ability, and obviously Harden going somewhere else. I still think Harden somewhere else could still be number 1. I said this so many times. Like he's just not just a scorer, and he's just so good at what he does. So, I mean, nothing really to talk about there. So that mid-range, just pick whoever you want. If you don't, like I said, if you don't want to take Davis because his locker room stuff, fine. He does get injured a lot. I get that. But yeah, Dame and Jokic are probably the 2 safest guys to me. So getting them is a really nice start. And then if you go Dame, I like going Dame over Jokic because on the way back, in this pocket here, if you're picking earlier, usually you're going to be getting a big man Whereas if you pick here, you're going to have to either hopefully, if Shea falls to you, you did it. If he doesn't, then you missed the point guard. You're going to have to either reach a little bit for Ja, which I don't really love to do it that high. Like if I'm picking here, I'd be okay with Ja. But up here's high. He's not going to be really good per game. And I'm big on Ja. I've been saying he's, going to be double-digit assists. This is head-to-head. Sorry about that. Should have mentioned. So punting was in play. And actually, it crossed my mind. I was like, okay, maybe I take Giannis here and come back, take Ben, hopefully take Drummond. Drummond actually fell, so that may have been the move. And really, nobody here looked like they were okay punting, which was interesting. So the guys that were the punt guys kind of slipped because everyone's build was similar. So if you were the one team, like the best way that if you're punting, the best way to be the punt team is if you're the only one punting. Because your pool of players, you can just pick out of them. Nobody else. But there's like 3 or 4 teams punting, then the demand's up, so you have to pay a little bit more. But yeah. Again, this is pretty standard stuff. We could talk about. It's pretty straightforward. The early rounds. Let's see. So I was hoping to get. I wanted obviously Shea or Bam in round 2. That's been my favorite way to go. And I knew it wasn't going to happen. Everybody, and as a matter of fact, at least a couple people were drafting straight off my 150. So that's like, imagine the punting thing I just made. Same thing. Like all these 2 people are like picking, or maybe more, we're all picking guys that I wanted to draft. So all my guys that I've been getting in normal drafts in 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds, I can't. I have to either go up and get them or I have to not get them. So that's why this draft is so tough for me, because that's like I said on the pod today. The worst thing about my job is I have to worry about, people just seeing my board, not worry about it, like it's going to happen. So I have to kind of like I do not have any Paul George. This is the only team I have Paul George. But with so many people picking guys I wanted, I was like, okay, I got to take Paul George, and he's fine. He's going to be pretty good per game. Hopefully, if Kawhi misses more games, that would be kind of a positive for him because Kawhi he gets the back-to-back rest, but he's actually been pretty healthy. Other than the couple the days off, like he hasn't really been hurt like he was in late San Antonio days. And even earlier San Antonio days, Kawhi's missed a lot of games relative to his youth. So that was interesting to see. All these dudes. I'm not drafting LeBron. I'm fine with any of these guys. I thought this was a great first round to put a bow on that. Like I'm not drafting LeBron. I like John Collins, and a little early, I thought, especially over Shea with an assist-to-turnover league. You really want to make sure you get a point guard. Nothing really too much interesting going on. Jimmy falls, and then he comes back. John, who's awesome, John Report on Twitter, does a lot of wrestling stuff if you're into that. I thought Zion, a guy that I'm not taking. He's going too high. He's too fun. The fun factor. So I wasn't really into that. Jog goes high. He's going to have to go early 3rd now, and I don't think I could pay that price. I mean, some of these dudes, Westbrook, whatever, but pass it on Vooch for that is risky. I took Gobert again, so safe for me. Fit my team really well with how I was building. I got a wing, I got a point guard, and I got a big man who blocks. So it was really nice balance to start, and that was my best available every time. I wasn't going out of position to reach. So that was nice. That's also why it's nice to have big, small. Because the rest of the draft, it could set you up slowly getting Trey or Dame and Bam on the way back. It's such a great way to start, in my opinion. In a 12-teamer, obviously deeper, it's kind of impossible. But, what's the trepidation with Ja? Yeah, so, John Morant wasn't really good per game in 9-cat last year. He was, honestly in the hundreds per game because he doesn't really help you he helps you in points and assists, a little bit of rebounding, but he's not great in defensive stats. He didn't shoot the ball well, especially in the early half of the year. So, he has to have a lot of things go right for him to be as valuable as taking him in top 20. Like I said, I'm fine doing it. I think he's fine here in this late 3rd. But taking him up here, you're past, you can't, in my opinion, passing on Vooch there. And I'm not the biggest Vooch guy, but you know what you're getting for sure. You know you're getting a guy who's going to be top 30. He's usually pretty durable, has hand fractures, concussion stuff, blah, 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 blah. But that dude's money in the bank. Gobert's money in the bank. I think Pascal Siakam has a bigger upside than Ja does. So, which sounds hot, but it really is. Pascal Siakam could do more defensive stats. He can handle the ball more than people think. and he's going to. So, yeah, is quickly a potential top 70 player? That's pretty hot. That's a good question. I'll talk about him later. I took him in this draft, just as a fun heads up. So that covers kind of the third round. You can kind of see what happened here. But yeah, so I was happy with Gobert. I was sitting here like, okay, I'm probably gonna get Gobert. People don't really get pumped to draft Gobert anymore, but I mean that dude's gonna be valuable. Here goes Christian Wood. So that's what I thought about that. I was like, all right, man, this is my last chance to get Christian Wood because I know he's gonna be gone by the time I pick again. But I was like, I can't pass on Gobert, man. He's good. He's pretty durable too. Couple knee injuries, but played 82 games in the rookie season, so got the dollar bills too. So fourth round, as usual. Fourth round is ideally for me in the fourth round. I'm getting this guy, Mr. Blue Arrow. Can't do it. There's a good question. Are the Grizzlies going to bring Clark off the bench? It sounds like they are. Whether it be the groin injury, or whether they like having him away from Valanciunas, I think that's what's going to happen. But that's still fine. Like, don't freak out about him coming off the bench. It's just a matter of getting minutes. And you can even make a case of him coming off the bench for 22 minutes is better than him starting for 27, 28 minutes because he's going to be so much better per minute, especially with, Melton, Tyus Jones. And these dudes don't really score a lot. So Clark could be much better per minute. And, even better defense. I assume Melton's coming off the bench. But like having better perimeter defense usually helps shot blockers because they kind of funnel in and block them. And that's not really analyzed, but I feel like that's what I've just noticed over my course of doing splits on players. But so back to this, man, people keep taking De'Aaron Fox pretty high. I'm not into him. I actually had Malcolm Brogdon higher than him, and this gentleman who is blocked by Woj. He was making a nice comment, but Woj blocked him. He took Malcolm Brogdon, who I'm probably one of the highest on, which I talked a lot about on 3Ball today. So hopefully you listen to that with how he's being used off ball more and on ball more with screens too. So really high on him. There you go. There goes Michael Porter Jr. too, another guy that just goes so high, and it's really hard to justify taking him over like Domantas Sabonis, who I took. I was pretty happy to land him. Going from I went from a really defensive stat guy to a very offensive big man. So I was like, the way my team was getting built here, I was really, really happy to have, offense, a little bit of everything in Paul George, a lot of defense, and then a lot of offense from a big with a little bit of other stuff too on good shooting. So Sabonis is really a great player to have. I love this new offense with the Pacers. And coming from Nick Nurse's rotation, we know that it's going to be a little bit more consistent. I'll get to the Porzingis question when he comes up here. Let's see here. So other than John, so here's where Drummond fell. So like I said, I almost regret not taking Giannis here. So if I had to, I would have been able to go for sure Giannis, Ben, Drummond. I would have taken Drummond here as I really would have wanted him for my build. Like that would have been chilling. So I could have taken anybody that I could have taken. It would have set me up. But so yeah, it just depends. Like that's why just to go back to this punting thing, if you're drafting tonight. So like if you are picking late, and everybody this is kind of important. I hate to go back to the first round, but like you don't generally your guys who are strong free throw guys, you really don't want to punt because it's really hard. You're soaking up a lot. You're just killing your value in a big area. But so like if you look up top, great free throw, not great free throw. Great, not great. So the thing is, so my point is if you pick late and Giannis is there, you're going to come back. The people behind you probably aren't going to – they may take LeBron. Someone may go LeBron, somebody else. But, like, chances are that most there's only going to be 3 teams punting against you. So you could take Giannis here, come back, take Ben, and then hopefully Gobert or Drummond slide to you. So that's head-to-head. You can't do that in straight roto, in my opinion. So, yeah. Moving – where were we? Let's talk – okay, so round 5. This is where you kind of got to ID where your spot's at. For me, usually if I'm in round 5, I want to take Malcolm Brogdon here. But that didn't happen. Didn't happen even close to happening. So I was pretty pleased. As the draft was going, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to take Chris Middleton if he falls. And he fell. Chris Middleton's kind of like, mid-round Paul George. kind of just does a little bit of everything. Has great value on the stat sheet from just like straight value. So I really like taking him if you're in a boring position. But we talked about him on the pod today. That's DeJounte Murray. I'm really into DeJounte. And another guy who fit my team great, offense, defense, point guard. And I think DeJounte's assists are going to be really nice, especially with Derek Whiteheart. So I was really into him. And I should mention there are 3 IR spots in this league too. So that's something to think about. I was hoping that both of these picks, I was like, okay, I got to take DeJounte. He's the highest guy. And just by the way, every single pick I made up until about like round 10 was straight off my 150. I wasn't like moving guys around because pretty much like the guy that fit my team best was up top. So that was really dope. So I'm just pretty proud of myself for how I put it together. I put a lot of thought into that. It sounds like crazy, just like a listing 150 players, but it's more work than you think. But anyways, here's Kristaps. And so just real quick, I was like, okay, if I get DeJounte, hopefully OG or Thomas Bryant fall to me. Didn't have to wait very long to realize that wasn't going to happen. So that was a big cliff. Like if that would have happened, I would have felt so much better about my draft, but didn't happen. That's okay. And Rocco was in that list too. So that run, I mentioned in the chat, I was like, oh man, that OG Thomas Bryant Rocco run just is crippling. Because I mean, I wanted those guys so bad. Yeah, not too much going on here. There's Kristaps. That's a good value for him with 3 IR spots. But this league's so deep. We run 13 starters, so not in a 5 bench, I think. So that's pretty early if you think about it like that. Because you look at these players that are going this round, and these dudes are valuable. So yeah, and I'll just add, I see Kelly Oubre go so high, and I'm just not into it. I don't think he has the juice to produce offensively in this offense. I just think his shot difficulty is going to be a lot tougher this year. So, and then also he's playing further away from the basket, so he has to really crush in steals, which he can. I could see him being a good steals guy, but don't really expect much blocks out of him. And then player further away from the basket, may not shoot as many free throws. So I'm just not into Oubre. That's probably one of him and probably Oladipo are probably 2 guys I'm not even close to drafting. Let's see. So here's TJ Warren. That's okay value. He's been falling more, but now that he's practicing, he went up. So I took Mikal Bridges here. Again, I just really like Mikal Bridges. Let me answer some questions. Let's see here. Mentioned mentioned quickly really fast. I talked about him. If you have more questions, pop them in there. I'll try to do it as I go. That's for Wiggins. Okay, you want to talk to me? But yeah, if you got a question, let me know. If it's like what target or whatever, can do that way. Let's see. So yeah, just when I was picking here with Mikal Bridges, I didn't really see, the other guy I was considering was actually here who I got. Because I was like, I don't, again, that cliff, this is a huge cliff. If you do the 150, like you could probably get 2 or 3 of these guys, but getting 0 there was rough, man. I was crestfallen with that one. Crest with and then I'm on the Periscope, so I got the morning ritual down. Who was that? Wale, like they signed me got fresh breath because they signed me to the scope. Wale, that was one of my favorite Wale lines. Wale's pretty dope. Okay. Isn't Hayward going late considering he's running the Charlotte offense? He's going late. He absolutely is going late. I mean, that's a really good value. If you look at his Utah numbers, he was 3rd, 4th roundish, but lots changed since then, right? I mean, this man missed a lot of games. He's already got the hand issue. He might play in the first game, which is fine, but I don't know. I'm not really too into it. Yeah, I'm taking questions, man. It's all good. But yeah, if you're gonna ask a question, try to make it for everybody. I don't want to answer like, what do I do about this trade right now? Too many people got drafts right now, so I don't want to waste your time. Which I'm probably doing anyways. But anyways, where's I going with that? Oh, Hayward, yeah, he's fine, but I mean, his ceiling's like 4th round, I think. I don't think he's really got to have the juice to be that great as far as a scorer. We saw even Borrega said that they want to drop Devontae Graham's usage rate, and we know Terry Rozier is going to be decent. And actually, just a quick side note, I wonder if I could pull this quote up. Borrego actually got on one of my targets, and that is PJ Washington. He said, I'll get the quote here. I hope I could find it. I don't know if I can. There we go. He said, nobody believes in him more than I do. He's someone that I trust and value, but he's got to play better. He's got to be in better shape. We need him to peak out this season, and he's not there right now. Like, oh, boy. As a guy who has a pretty good amount of PJ Washington. Did I get him this one? Nope, didn't. But, yeah, that's a little scary for PJ. So that means I actually, in the 150 today, I moved Baisley ahead of him, who I didn't get in this draft again. Baisley, dude. All the guys, I mean, maybe it was me, but every guy I mentioned on the Schefter podcast is like going like 2 rounds higher now. So I hate that. But yeah. So I like Kobe White here, just to add that in there. It's kind of a mixture of boring and safe. Like John Wall too is pretty good value. I got him at 80 in another draft. I'll talk about that one too. This one's my if you're playing it competitively, this is probably the best examples though, I think. Let me get to that one a little bit. Round 7, like I said, I took Jaren Jackson. If you have 3 IR spots, you probably want to take 1 or even 2. You probably want to invest 1 mid-ish round pick in an IR guy just to give you a little extra juice when it gets to the fantasy playoffs. So, like with that Kristaps Porzingis, I would take Jaren Jackson because we know Porzingis is hurt all the time. Where Jaren Jackson, although recently he's had a couple bad ones, but Kristaps' body of work, man. I mentioned all the time. His first summer league game, like he was in the locker room. Like he just can't stay on the court. So yeah, yeah. That's a good one too. So like the ETR guys who are I'm really high on. Yeah, Hero. Okay, so that's a good question. So I get this guy drafted at the 150, and he took Hero in round 7. You can probably get him a little bit later. And he took Baisley again. David Leggs, who helped out Colangelo back in the day. I used to work with him in Rotorworld. He's a really cool dude. At Lake Sanity, if you want to follow him for Sixers Twitter. So yeah, it's just like you don't want to go too nuts on picking, like all the ETR guys, I guess. But like Mikal Bridges, I mean, I don't even know what. Hero's definitely one of them, but I guess so the disconnect of it, I think I'm probably high on Hero's assists, which is probably I think he's going to handle the ball a lot more, and I think we're not discounting Jimmy missing a lot of games. So you see Hero being very heavy points versus, nothing else. Now he's going to do a little more. And I think he's going to shoot a lot better too. So I'm pretty sold on him as far as an offense. You don't want to draft if you drafted like all offense, like you're not going to draft Tyler Hero. You're going to take someone like Mikal Bridges instead. So something to think about. So we're like halfway through. Let me go to this other draft just to kind of compare and contrast. This is let's see here. Oh, okay. So we got a Beasley news coming out here. All right, so I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, you can kind of see just how I'll do this draft. So here, so like this team. This is the Charity Stripe League. It's really cool. With a lot of people from Rotorworld, a couple Yahoo guys are in here. Andy Barons is in this draft. Basketball Monster, he's in there. He drafted right behind me. He had a pretty good draft. So this is kind of fun, and it's called Charity Stripe because whoever wins picks a charity, and we all donate to whoever the winner picks, which is pretty cool. I won it once, so that was pretty cool. Got to do some good. But yeah, so my team, I picked 8th. And I got Dame, and I was really pumped. I got Dame, Bam, perfect. Got Donnie, perfect. Got Kyle Lowry, another point guard, perfect. Got Brogdon in the 5th, like I said. Got Thomas Bryant, like I wanted to get. John Wall I had to take him. I wanted to get Josh Richardson in the 8th, got him. Got DeMarcus Cousins, wanted to get him. Got PJ Washington 10th, wanted to get him. Got Cam Reddish, got Darius Garland, got everybody I wanted. It went like exactly how I wanted it to go. Whereas this draft, it didn't go like that. Like early on, like I did not think I would draft Paul George. I did not think I was going to draft, Gobert. I thought I'd maybe get Siakam or something like that. But yeah, it's just like these two teams are so different. I'm drafting off the same board. It's because people that are in my draft with me are drafting off my board. Yeah. Just to answer Malik Beasley, he's going to be suspended for sure. It's just a matter of when. I don't think that suspension got announced yet. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to pick up Culver as great as his preseason was. I think that'll probably help Rubio actually more than anybody else because I don't think they really want to play Rubio and Beasley and D'Angelo at the same time. But I mean, sure, he didn't get drafted in this league, I don't think. Oh, no, he did. Okay, he went to Trout at 187. So there, NWA with Mr. Culver. Cool. Let's go back to this one. If you have any questions, hit me up on that one. That's kind of how the top half went. So I guess let's talk more on back half. I guess we can talk more about who I want because I don't really think it matters who I don't want. But yeah, so 8th round. It's crazy. I'm Mr. Karis LeVert. He's like part of my brand, but I'm full fade on him. Eric Bledsoe falls, man. We had him really high in the 150. We had to dock his rates a little bit because of just because he was popping so high and he falls. So we think his steal is going to come down, but we still think he's worth the value. That's a really good pick for him in round 8. And Nikhil Alexander-Walker not being in the rotation also helps him too. But yeah, so I got Cam late and Stroud took him early, man. Took him round 8. So that was a little like eyebrow raise, but this is kind of an interesting little run here. Let's see. So I took Josh Richardson here. I was so pumped. He was circled for me in the spot with the way my draft was going. I wanted a little heavy threes because I wasn't really drafting too many guys. Like DeJounte is not really great for threes. Mikel's going to be pretty good. Sabonis isn't great. Gobert's not at all. So that was one of my favorite picks in this draft was Stellan J. Rich. He looks really good. But yeah, as far as like rounds, yeah, I mean DeJuan went early here. Usually you can get DeJuan went real late in this draft. I think Steve took him. Yeah, 124. So I almost took him too. But I mean, who did I take before? I took PJ Washington because I needed a big. And I had them pretty much neck and neck. So let's see here. But yeah, that's where nothing really too crazy there. I reached on LaMelo. Talked about this on the pod a little bit, just because assisted turnover. I hate being thin on point guard, and there's like nobody else really worth besides Darius Garland and Kemba, who's going to be hurt for a while. But yeah, the point guard was just dry as far as guys who can help you in assists. So I was like, all right, there's really nobody I feel great about here. I'm going to pull the trigger. And I did, and it didn't work. I was hoping DeMarcus was going to fall to me. He did not. So kind of regretted that pick. But again, this guy's picking right off my 150 the whole time. Legs. I'm sure you're listening. I told you I'd mentioned on this many times. Let's see here. I can answer some questions. If you're playing in the 2 center league, does that change how you value bigs? Yes and no, because and these are 2 center leagues. Let me show you the format. But the thing about Yahoo, a lot of guys have position flexibility. So I got 1, 2. I took Marquise Chris late, and where's somebody else at? But yeah, I'm okay at center. It's just a matter of you could fill them and then get some Jaren Jackson back. That's why the empty spots there. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. Just because Yahoo, actually CBS has a lot of flexibility, but ESPN doesn't. So on ESPN, you want to be a little bit more careful about making sure your positions are covered. Is it a mistake to stack Booker, Ayton, and Mikal? I don't think so. Obviously, it just depends on where you're getting them. I don't really know how you can get Booker and Ayton together unless you're doing an auction. Because if you're picking Booker, that means you're probably picking in the back end, and Ayton doesn't make it that far in round 3. So, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think they're going to be really productive. I obviously think Chris Paul's going to help out those guys a lot. So, yeah. Oh, no Jared Allen extension, no Lonzo Ball extension. People be stingy with the money all of a sudden. Are you worried at all about Pelicans players and the slower pace? Yes, they are really slow. They're the slowest preseason pace team when they are normally top 5 in the preseason. They're normally up there in the regular season too. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm more concerned about the rotation being tight, which I think it's going to be. Like I mentioned, not being in the rotation is pretty good news for him. So swapping out tighter rotation for pace is good. So I'm kind of okay with that. Deepest and shallowest, that's a good question. So I don't really ever get struck by overall depth when I'm drafting. But one thing that I remember is that a lot of guys I want to draft late, like your Norms, like your Dewans, like there's a lot of wings. So that's why I was saying earlier is I feel more comfortable. Obviously, if it's more of a tiebreaker situation, but like if it's close, if you want to take the best available player, but if you're like splitting hairs, take the big or the small early, just because you're going to be able to get a lot of wings later. Like Baisley's he's a forward, but he's kind of wingy with how his stat lines are going to look. Um, and where it says like point, where I said point guard, just really, really can dry up quick on you. So yeah. I'll just talk another draft I did really quick. This is I think the KBA one. Yeah, so this is with some industry people. Rick Hamlin's league. That's kind of fun. I really like how my team came out on this one. This is probably my favorite team. I gotta start using my last name. Okay. Okay, so my last name. So yeah, right? Perfect. Trey, Bam, Pascal, Middleton, Brogdon, like I said, Covington, perfect. Little early hero, Common Bridges late, Cousins, Washington, Baisley, like that. Those leagues look exactly the same, right? They like went to perfection. I was really happy with how these teams came out. I got a good mixture of bigs, wings, really, really heavy point guard. So it was just easy game, as Adam Levitan likes to say. Does Luke Kennard's big money suggest he may be in as a top 4 or 5 usage guy? I don't think so. He has to stay healthy, number one, but his value is going to be strictly when Kawhi sits. We saw him play some 2 and some 3 in the preseason. Did play some point guard as well in Detroit. He's pretty good. It's just a matter of that knee, man. And I mentioned this before. Like we were in the Kennard last year, and then all of a sudden, Casey's like, "Oh no, hasn't been practicing." Like, "Oh, okay, not gonna draft you anymore." And that kind of turned out nice. When did I get Cousins? In which I didn't get him in my tough draft, but in this one, 105. Like 100 is Moneyball time for DeMarcus. Like I getting like this is I don't know how I got Baisley 129. That was so lucky. But yeah, like depending on like if your league's like always on Twitter and like they all follow me or whatever, like you're probably like 90. If not, then you could slide a little bit. Like I've seen people tweet and get them like 130, 140. Like that would never happen in a million years. But I'm pretty sold on Baisley, even with Pokashevsky looking way better than we thought. But Baisley's going to get a lot of minutes, and I think his stat production is going to really step forward. So that's another guy. Like, yeah, him and like OG, we got him in NFPKC, $1,000 buy. These elite people aren't playing around, and we got him so late. We got him round 9, something like I think around 6, 7, round 7, 8, or 9. Where like he goes around 5, 6 now. So yeah, so this one he was right here he went in round 7. That was pretty good value too. So without knowing preseason schedule, how long do you think it'll take for rookies to get serious runs? So it depends on A, which rookies, and B, how do you define serious. I think serious run is going to be just generally. I mean, we're talking upper 20s usage and upper 20s 30s minutes. That just doesn't really think. That doesn't really strike me as. On top of that, like this isn't a good class, right? So LaMelo's got issues. So a couple things are gonna have to happen, but it's something. But I do think that generally you're not targeting rookies as aggressively as you have in previous years. No, it's not the exact answer you may want. But yeah, like I said, I would not reach for rookies. That's like my thing. I always want to come into drafts like, oh, I'm going to get this rookie, this rookie, this rookie. And you don't have to do that aggressively. You can wait. Like I get a Coro last round almost all the time. Patrick Williams, even Vassell quickly all of a sudden. And I took this league. Oh, it's a different one. Yeah, but this thing I took quickly late here. I was like, okay, I'll take quickly. 17th round. But yeah, these names are fun. Always the late rounds. Yeah, see Compazzo going in here. Pokashevsky went pretty early. I thought I was going to get Pokashevsky around here, but no. So, anything else? Is there like a particular round you guys want to talk about, or like late? Did I give you enough late round stuff? I feel like I threw a lot of names out. If you guys have anything on that, that's a good question. Does the Chris Paul signing hurt or help Booker? Helps. So on a lot of fronts. One, Chris Paul's not going to play a lot of minutes, so that's going to help him get the high ceiling usage rate games and assist games. Say all the time, potential assists per pass. It's Devin Booker's #1 last year. And then #2, if you could see a clear trend of efficiency on and off court with Chris Paul versus Shea and Schroeder both were exceptional around the basket with Chris Paul. We're talking 6, 7, 8 percentage points. James Harden as well in his 2 years with Chris Paul, he was really good around the basket just because he's getting easier shots. So he's a big upgrade to me. So I think he's going to be even better on defensive stats and better on, his free throws are still going to be really good. His coach said he wants him to be MVP and All-NBA. So I think that really helps him get, even just a minutes bump because he's going to have to be out there and they have to make the playoffs. And they know he's really important. And he looks so freaking good. I think Booker's going to have a really big season. And I mentioned on a previous episode that I don't think it's a hot take to say that Devin Booker outproduces Luka in 9-cat, which sounds so hot. But honestly, if you look at the numbers, it's really not. Thoughts on Bobby Portis this year? I don't really care. I love Bobby Portis. Free Bobby Portis. I started that hashtag. But, yeah. I don't know. I'm not really into him. He just doesn't do enough defensively like we thought he might. He's going to get run. Yeah, it's just a matter of enough. Their rotation did just run so many bodies out there that it's tough for him to get enough playing time to put him over the top because he's not really doing much besides hitting threes, scoring, and he hasn't really been the greatest rebounder. I thought he was going to be a better rebounder too. Yep. Do you ever get nervous about sacrificing early season wins by targeting rookies instead of safe bets? Sometimes. You can't, like I mentioned this before, you can't do it every pick. But it's hard to do it because everyone's going to do it at least once or twice. So here, I mean, these guys are boring, right? Look how many boring guys I took here. I took Marquise Chris, who's falls 149. Jay Crowder, boring. Joe Ingles, boring. And then I went hot again. Then I went Town Horton Tucker, Quickly, and Dort. But yeah, you definitely got to mix it up. You can't go all home runs all the time. Getting Joe Ingles at 173, that shouldn't happen. Joe Ingles is going to probably be pretty close to top 100 per game because he's so good in assists. He's such a great 3-point shooter, and he can score a little bit. So yeah, I was like, all right, you can't do it. Just every pick, you need to adjust on mixing some floor and some ceiling on the back end, especially when this deep. We're going 200 and something picks, 200 something in the teens picks, 216 or something, right? Yeah, 216. So yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, do you guys want anything else on? Yeah, Crowder's a great value, man. I think there's a legit chance that Crowder's going to be, top 100-ish. I think it's definitely his range of outcomes. Easy call. Mid-round defensive guys. That was that pocket I mentioned, right? That OG, and Covington back to back. So yeah, those are guys that are great. I think later, Noel is a really good guy who, if you say you whiff on blocks, right, he's a guy you want to look at. Brandon Clark will be pretty good. I think Cam Reddish is going to have good steals. I think Josh Richardson's going to have good steals numbers. I think Wendell Carter Jr.'s blocks are going to be pretty good. He's a guy that is going pretty round 7. For as poorly as he played in the preseason, you'd think he'd fall, but people are smart enough to know that just missing shots is fine. And actually, Billy Donovan was asked today, how do you feel about Wendell Carter Jr. shooting 4 threes a game? He said, I'm not opposed to it after this man went 1 of 100. Yeah, if you have or if you want to list a couple, if you're listening, you want a list of players that you want to take and I can throw out a number for you, like, hey, I want to take so and so. When do you think, if my league's sharp, you could look at it that way. I'd be down to help. Yeah, last round flyers. Like I was so mad. So mad. It's this dude, Keldon Johnson, my friend Chris. He even said, sorry, Mike. Like, how dare you? How dare you take Keldon Johnson away from me? So, and actually, I mentioned this on the pod. If you don't listen to the pod, that is a great question that someone sent. Shout out to you if you're listening. Can these two guys coexist? Keldon Johnson and Vassell? I think yes, because they're saying that they're kind of into this whole, small ball thing. So, and playing their young guys. So I think the move is once Keldon comes back, like they're almost playing DeMar at the 3 and Rudy at the 4 out of necessity because they don't have Derek White and Keldon Johnson. So when that happens and we get them back, that means I think DeMar goes back to the 4, Rudy Gay goes back to the bench, and there you go. Trey Lyles gets his minutes cut. We won't see as much Jakob Poeltl and Marcus Aldridge overlap. So, yeah, I mean, both those Spurs are great picks. Gary Trent Jr. is fine. I'm taking a lot of Isaac Okoro. There you go. Earliest I would take OG. So that's a good question. Let's talk about that. So you have to talk about – you just have to think about in a sense of who is ahead of him. So if you have the 150, there you go. There's your answer. Like I have him in a position where I'm okay taking guys ahead of him. So the one guy that is on that list for me was DeJounte. So it's not a matter of what round you're taking him. It's a matter of who's there, So let's just say if DeJounte wasn't here, I would have taken Thomas Bryant instead and Robert Covington. So he still wasn't at the top of my board. So if this league wasn't so sharp, then yeah. So even in this league, it's crazy. This is an industry draft, but the other league was so much tougher. But OG went round 7 here. So I think round 7 is a pretty good spot. So he went 70. Then we could just kind of see who went ahead of him. And I'll show you who I passed on for him. So yeah, again, I'm not lying. I took Thomas Bryant ahead of him. I believe in Thomas Bryant's upside actually quite a bit more than I do with OG's. And I love OG. But I mentioned this on the pod again, that Thomas Bryant hasn't really increased value. I don't know why. But Thomas Bryant looks freaking awesome. So yeah, dude, just take him. But yeah, OG. So yeah, Thomas Bryant, Covington, DeJounte, Brogdon, obviously, those are guys I'm generally taking. Right here, I took Brogdon, obviously, not even gonna consider OG there. So that's pretty much the group I'm taking before OG. So once that dries up, then kind of all bets are off. I'll take him wherever I need to take him. And yeah, like I said, after he goes, the Mikal Bridges tier starts and all that. Mikal Bridges is kind of the top end of that next tier after OG to me. Mitchell Robinson, this is more about fit for your team. People did another guy. So people were I think it was this draft. Someone said oh, so early for Mitch. And I was like, what? Mitch Rob in round 5, all day. So yeah, I think that's probably right. I think round 5 is where you're looking to go for him. In competitive drafts, what kind of edge are you looking for? I mean, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just have to know your teammates. So yeah. Just realized I messaged Mike Gallagher, the congressman, on Twitter. Yep, that's awesome. So that's really funny. I get that sometimes. There's a radio dude too who I don't like, I guess, to put it that way. And whoever has Mike Gallagher without the middle initial doesn't tweet. So I want that. I'm good with the S though. Get the S on my chest for the fantasy game. But hope that answers the mid trial question. Again, it's all about I'm taking some bonus before. Yeah, that's probably the good point. If you missed. Or I mean, if you went even if you missed defensive stats, I think you still have to take some bonus. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. But you're gonna take Christian Wood over him. But yeah, there's a pretty Mitchell's kind of the back end of that tier. So I don't know. Thanks for the hard work. Awesome. Uh, I have one final and two champs, just followed by your guy. Awesome, man. Thank you. I love it. I love screenshot season. I know, Drew, we get screenshot season for DFS, but I love screenshot season when it's time for fantasy playoffs. Nobody won any fantasy titles last year unless your season ended early, right? That was really sad. And yep. Oh, there we go. I was waiting for a Cole Anthony question because guess what? I actually got it ready. So we saw 16 minutes of. If you want, this is actually really cool. If you're into stats like I am, this is the NBA.com compare tool. I use this like every day for like hours at a time. It shows you kind of how to do, like, you can see statistics on and off. So it's really cool. Hopefully it does take a minute to load. You can kind of see Markelle Fultz. His usage rate was high with Cole Anthony in small sample. But yeah, it's really cool. I love this. This is one of my favorite things. Like I said, so 16 minutes of overlap. That's pretty noteworthy to me for a guy who is as raw as he is. If he can get that number up to like 7, 8, 9 a game, because we know Markelle Fultz isn't going to play upper 30s, then he's on the board, right? He's going to get low 20s minutes. And if he can produce and make shots, then yeah. But we can probably see so we can flip him. So we can see how Cole Anthony does in his minutes without him. So per 36, look at this 77-minute sample. He was baller. 23 points, 6 assists, 4 boards, a lot of turnovers. That's okay. And fantastic shooting numbers. So, yeah. Thoughts on I talked about LaMelo earlier. I actually talked about him on the pod too today. We talk a lot about fantasy. But on the pod I mentioned that LaMelo's shooting chart. Here, I'll pull it up for you. LaMelo's shooting charts, and my God, I want to kill NBA.com for taking away my search bar. It drives me insane. So you can see on LaMelo, this is really cool. I should just do this. If you guys have draft questions, let's answer them. And you can actually do this. Let's do his shooting. So you can see kind of this is what I do with my life right here. You can see how he did on. Oops. All right. Look at that. Jump shots 7 of 33. He was 6 of 22 on twos. So that means he was 1 of 11 on 2-point jumpers. That is alarming. Add that to the fact that he only had 8 restricted shots of his 42 shots. That's really, really scary. So this man, like, he's probably not getting to 40% from the field. I mean, I guess I said this before. Like, if he gets to 43, like, you're swimming. But I think like 40 is probably where you're at on projection. So you're hoping it's only like 3 or 4 shots a game. You offset that with assists and some steals, maybe some defensive stats too. But yeah, if you guys want to talk about anybody else in the preseason, let me know, or what else we can do. Going on 48 minutes, good time to end it for basketball. No. But yeah, if you have, we're probably at the question portion of the show. But what other defensive stat players to mention? Yeah, Jaren Jackson's good. Like, if you miss out on defensive stats, you don't want to, you miss on Mitch, and you miss on OG, you miss on Rocco. Like, then you're probably okay taking Jaren Jackson Jr., like right here, something in that range. Kind of like just even Weissman maybe, which if he falls really hard. But there's not many, right? That's kind of the issue. That's why some of these dudes who block so many shots are so valuable, because you draft them once, and you draft that one spot, you got that category in good shape, which is why they're so valuable. That's what sold me on Gobert. It's like, okay, I don't want to chase blocks later because it's really hard to chase that. It's really hard to chase blocks and really hard to chase assists. So making sure you're set there in the first 4 rounds could really help you just pick the best players available rather than drafting for need. That's really the key to building the best teams, is not having to draft for need. Like I said, I had to draft for need in this competitive draft with some of my friends. Is Lonnie Walker worth a flyer while Derek White is out? Yes. I have him in a couple deep leagues. Not quite sold on his output per game, but you're kind of just hoping it all comes together for him. Yeah, Jakob Poeltl's a great guy. He actually, Pop said he wants to do more scoring too. So another guy late is definitely Jakob Poeltl. I mentioned Noel too is another guy who's like just late value for blocks. But yeah, I'm good with Lonnie. I definitely think Keldon's gonna be better per minute by a lot. And even Vassell maybe. Vassell's just been smashing. Yeah, I'm good with Lonnie. I would rank him Keldon, assuming you're okay with an IR guy, Vassell, Lonnie. But maybe Vassell gets dialed back because we know Pop doesn't like rookies. But again, it's a new day in the rap game. Nobody's selling records but Sean Poe. No, sorry. But yeah, it's Pop's okay playing young guys now. He's changed his whole tone. He's like a pop. He's a dad now for his team. He's okay playing the young guys. Dwight Powell thoughts. Yes, like Dwight Powell a lot. We got him in the NFBKC team real late. Looks healthy. Minutes are going to be good. He shot 70% on twos with Luka last year. Great shots for him. So need some water. And yeah, I took a lot of Garland too. I think it's worth talking about. But Garland's usage kind of popped. I'm gonna kill this. But extra quick links link is just every time I click that, I'm like furious. But you can see here, 30 usage rate. Obviously, guys are missing time, but I mean that number is huge. They want him to shoot. They want him to produce stats. So, believe what they're saying, and you could get him real late. Rank Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kleba. That's pretty easy. I'm taking Powell, Kleba, Dorian Finney-Smith. Who are my most 3 drafted players? Isaac Okoro. I have him on every league except for one. Again, it's all about price. Like, you can't have Dame in every league if you don't pick top whatever, So, and like OG, like I thought I'd have OG in every league. I'm way underweight on him. I have him in like 2 leagues. I like Dylan Windler. I don't really like him. He was great in summer league before he hurt his leg, but obviously you can't really draft him. I think Okoro iced him out. But getting back to Garland here, I'm not drafting Dante DiVincenzo. Just hate the team, and just not enough usage for him. And he's not really he's good in steals, but that's kind of it. So he's kind of like if you missed out on steals. But so yeah, you can kind of see here on Garland's shot chart, only 12.5% on the mid range. You got in the paint pretty good amount here. 54% of his shots in the paint. I really like seeing that. He missed his threes. That's fine. It's almost like you see the Levitan. He has the Monday morning tweets talking about guys' usage and not thriving on it. Like that's kind of what Garland was, right? Like literally usage. 30 usage rate, good minutes, but just inefficient. But he got efficient shots, So, yeah, I think Garland's, again, I have a ton of Garland. And it's because I don't know, I'm surprised that nobody else is taking Garland. Like, I don't know if people aren't really looking into why he's missing shots. And you see these. So these are the videos, too. I've been using these a lot in the 3-ball, too. So. But that was really cool. If anybody else, Garland doesn't have defensive upside at all. If you guys have any other, I might call it. Let's see what else we could think of. Aaron Gordon, actually, I came so close to drafting him every time. I almost took him here. I think Aaron Gordon's gonna be really good this year. I'm a little bit worried about his calf injury. I'm a little bit worried about his hamstring, which he was not over. He said he was still dealing with soreness in his first game from his preseason. The hammy was injuring him earlier. So, yeah. But, yeah, I have a pretty good amount of DeMarcus Cousins, which I'm pumped about. I love Boogie. He could give you good defensive stats too. So, yeah. So I guess we're going to get out of here on that. I still got some work to do. So you guys kill your drafts tonight. Get the 150. Subscribe. And, yeah, like I said, if you're not subscribed, we're really trying to grow our YouTube page. It's free. So if you guys could subscribe to that, that would do me a huge favor. We really appreciate it. So you guys take care, and we'll catch you next time.